The United States, Mexico, and Canada will all automatically qualify for the 2026 World Cup. Of course, we did it! This long rumored, but finally confirmed by FIFA earlier this week. This, of course, being the first time that 3 nations will co-host the World Cup, so I guess there were some questions. These 3 spots, by the way, will be deducted from the 6 overall that CONCACAF gets. Reminder, this is the first ever 48-team World Cup. Okay, Herc, so North America gets 6 spots. 3 are going to the US, Mexico, and Canada. Quick math, that leaves us 3 more spots. The question then becomes, who else from CONCACAF is going to the 2026 World Cup? Now, you left the homework to me on this one, right? I have to make the choices.
Correct.
And you just get to bash them.
Well, yeah, I will be Sebastian Salazar today.
Okay, all right, very well. Okay, here are my choices for teams 1, 2, and 3, but effectively kind of what I'm thinking is 4, 5, and 6 right now in the CONCACAF pecking order. I'm going Jamaica, Costa Rica, and El Salvador to get the 3 spots for the 2026 World Cup. Shall we start with Jamaica, Herculez?
Yes, sir.
Shall we start with Jamaica? Now, part of this for me is stubbornness, okay? I know that's going to shock you. I picked Jamaica last time, and I feel like they let me down, right?
Oh,
I feel like they let me down.
Okay.
I picked Jamaica to go to the 2022 World Cup. Obviously, it didn't work out. But there was some success, certainly late in qualifying. They actually finished 6th, so if we go off 6 spots gets you in, they were good enough last time around to qualify as one of the top 6 teams out of this region. The other thing, Herc, is we cannot deny the talent on the potential Jamaica roster, right? It's not always there, and they may recruit even more foreign dual nationals, right? But when you can throw a guy like Mikel Antonio or Leon Bailey on a CONCACAF field, you're a legit threat, right? And then on top of that, if you go back to what has, since they last qualified for the World Cup in 1998, often been a knock, is kind of the reported disharmony within this Jamaican team. And actually, Herc, there's a Netflix documentary, Captains. I know you've seen this. Andre Blake features in it, right, as one of the captains of Jamaica. And there's a poignant scene in there where you could see the team getting ripped apart. Well, who's their manager now? It's the same manager that took Iceland to the 2018 World Cup. There was a big part of that Iceland team in 2016. What were those teams famous for? Being together, Herc. So the one problem with Jamaica, they seem to have solved with their managerial choice. I think Jamaica's good. What do you think? A safe bet for 2026?
It should be. And honestly, if I was doing the same exercise, they would be in there. My only worry is if I could pick one team in all of CONCACAF to say underachieves time and time again, it's Jamaica. When you look at Gold Cup, it's the U.S. or Mexico, right? When it's not, who has success in the Gold Cup? It's Jamaica. Yet when it comes to World Cup qualifying, when it comes to actually being a unified front, they've underachieved. That would be my only caveat there. But yes, if I'm doing this exercise with you, Jamaica's a shoo-in.
Okay, also, we have to mention with Jamaica, the kits, right? We want to see those kits at the next World Cup. That you look good, you play good, all right? So I'm going Jamaica. I'm also putting in Costa Rica. This one was a little bit tougher for me, Herc. But kind of like with Jamaica, if you've got some guys who are elite-level players in CONCACAF, it can be a huge difference maker. It's certainly a huge difference maker in goal for Costa Rica. And Keylor Navas, yes, he's not a spry young chicken anymore.
36.
He's 36 right now. He'll be 39 for the next World Cup, but we know goalies age differently. I don't think it's, and by the way, it's a very motivated Keylor Navas. Now, this is a guy who went on a loan to Nottingham Forest from PSG. That, to me, tells me it's a guy who's not content to ride off into the sunset, right? We know he had offers from this side of the world. He chose to stay in that side of the world and continue to prove himself. He's going to be a huge part of Costa Rica for the next cycle, I believe. Beyond that, Herc, I'm betting on their consistency. The last 6 World Cups, they've missed once. I thought this past World Cup would be the one where kind of the old generation fell off. It didn't. They still were able to get the job done. I'm betting on Costa Rica here. Maybe it's a little bit nostalgia, but I still feel confident in the Ticos. What say you?
They had to go on a historic second-half run in CONCACAF qualifying to make that World Cup.
Or you could say they could afford a terrible first-half run in qualifying and still manage to get in.
If you want. Now, you mentioned a goalkeeper, and that's all you mentioned. All right, let me read you off really quickly the starting lineup against Germany, that 4-2 game, which was crazy. You had Navas over 30, Oviedo over 30, Duarte over 30, Waston over 30, Vargas over 30, Fuller. Leave Cafu Fuller for a second off this. Borges over 30, Tejeda, Aguilera, Campbell, who's 30 right now, and Venegas over 30. So it's not the spryest of teams, and the biggest caveat here is Luis Fernando Suarez, the head coach here. But very interesting young group coming up. So, yeah, I have them in there as well.
Plus, who else is it going to be, right? Home field advantage, you think of places that are tough to go. You know, Mexico, the U.S. have not just dropped points in Costa Rica. They've, gotten embarrassed in Costa Rica. So Costa Rica, tough place to play. I think that'll give them an edge. I also think that'll be an edge for the last team I'm picking, kind of my dark horse here. I was between Herc, El Salvador, and Curaçao, but I've just seen more from El Salvador. So I think they're going to grab that 6th and final spot out of CONCACAF. I'm betting big time here on Hugo Perez. This is a vote of confidence on Hugo Perez. Tell me I'm wrong.
I think this is where you're wrong, and it's because of Hugo Perez.
Ooh.
Everything tells me that Hugo Perez is maybe looking for something bigger, something more consistent, something where they'll actually give him funds to work with, whether that be a club situation or elsewhere. And because we're betting on the man Hugo Perez here, I think something tempts him away. I think he's the saving grace for this program, and that's really what keeps me from saying it's Hugo Perez and this national team in 2026. If he's there, yeah, for sure, absolutely. But because it's on him, no. And you mentioned Curaçao, Suriname is a very interesting prospect. Aaron Winter, who was with TFC, this team right now, with the amount of dual nats they could bring in, if that actually applies, because of Suriname's government laws. But they've got a very interesting team, Geraldo Becker, FC Union Berlin.
You're obsessed with Suriname, huh?
Dude, the guy's doing well. So.
All right, so there you have it. I think El Salvador's a pretty good bet there. And just imagine, Herc, you know how many Salvadorans are in the United States. Could you imagine El Salvador playing in the United States in the 2026 World Cup?
Get him to DC.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN+.